A lot better, getting my strength back. I had supper tonight, so I'm coming back on board. People ask me, what do you think it is, or whatever. It could be COVID. I had it once before. It was a doozy for 3 days. Maybe that's what I had, but I don't think it really matters anymore at this stage as all of the lockdowns and everything are over. So, yeah, you treat it as just another flu, and that's how I look at it. A little different, yeah. Some of my joints aren't holding up very well, and I'm glad I got some anti-inflammatories and drugs. But I see people are coming on. I want to do this live. As a lot's happened, actually, in the last 2 days, and especially today. And it was Belize, the president of Belize, who's not super active on social media, but very active today in the UK Parliament, and he told the UK Parliament and the President of the UK today, Prime Minister Sunni, he said, you can go shove the coronation up your butt. If we don't get an apology on the UN decided reconciliation under decolonization, we are leaving the Commonwealth. We're gone. Goodbye. We want reparations. We want Belize's debt forgiven. And folks, they go through everything that all what people call the indigenous peoples, I call the first peoples. Now, all over the world, indigenous works. Where it doesn't work is in the three countries, one being Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The word indigenous is BS because all three of those countries have laws restricting the people. Aboriginal laws for the Aborigines of Australia, the Indian law, the Indian Act of Canada, and we can go on through all the first peoples that have been brutalized by many colonizers. And I put out a map. If I didn't put it in the title, which I don't think I did, I'm going to put the link in the title, post the video, shows you a map of North America, 1700 AD. The first of the colonizers, there were three, the first three, and of course we had the Dutch and we also had the Portuguese as well, 5 in total, but the three majors that would go on to cause America all kinds of problems, and in the development of the 13 states. When we talk about slavery and reparations, absolutely France, Britain, and Spain, all slavers, massive slavers. 1700, they ran all of North America. They brutalized everybody, full on slavers, kill the American Indians, which were all First Peoples of Canada today and all First Peoples of America, known as Turtle Island. It was rape, murder, kill. If you weren't a willing slave, you had to be replaced. And then that's when they had the African slaves come in on the ships. They did it. They did it for a long time. Do you know who ended slavery first? Constituted was Vermont, the state of Vermont, 1777. They were the first, not Spain, not England, and certainly not France. It was Vermont, the breakaway state. They got attacked, they got brutalized. They went on to join British Quebec. Even though they wanted to join the 13 colonies won independence. From there, they allowed Vermont to join them. They didn't finish with Britain. You saw the immediate end of slavery in those states. Very worried now at the fall of all that. Britain would go on 30 years later to outlaw it. All northern states clearly surpassed UK by more than 30 years. They definitely surpassed France, and they definitely surpassed Spain. Now, France went that way too. Why? Because they lost the 7-Year War, folks. They gave it up because they lost all their territory. Of course, they're going to go and say, oh, okay, we're against slavery because you lost your assets. That's why. And they even made Haiti pay reparations after the abolishment of slavery on their French holdings elsewhere in the world. You can look at all the history of all the colonizers, all brutal slavers. They brought it to North America. Canada, before Canada was a country, all slavery by the French and British. Not Portuguese, not Spanish, French and British. People can say, oh, it's not true. It most certainly was true. It was the original American northern colonies that abolished slavery. Nobody else. Everybody followed suit after as America got to expand, fought back against all its colonial oppressors, which it abolished all of them, went on to do two more. America would be in a perpetual state of war, crafting itself even up to the American Civil War. And what would that war, nearly 90 years later, be about? The issue of slavery. Who brought that to those states? Well, you can go look. They were all Spanish states that came into America, British states that came into America, French states that came into America after the 13 colonies. You'll find the crafting of slavery was either Spanish, English, or French. Yes, those states kept it because it was instituted there by the colonial powers. America would get rid of it. It took 90 years. The other empires that outlawed it, why? Because they lost to America. It's easy to say, I'm not a slaver anymore, when you've lost all your territory in war. Go look at it. Go look at it. They say USA was last to get rid of it. No, they were the first to get rid of it. They were the first to implement the end of slavery as independent states. And then it spread, and they had to war themselves to get rid of the slavery from the South, the leftover Spanish influence. They had to do that. They had to have a civil war. That's the truth. Each state was separate. Each state had its own colonial design. Some of Papal Bull, some of Doctrine of Discovery. That is America, even still embedments today. We just saw Mississippi last week. Now, what's happened here is everybody in the UN, in the idea of indigenous, came up with a framework in the absolute binding law of decolonization 1960. Cemented, bound in international law, everybody went for it. It's there. USA did not have a problem with it. Why? Because USA isn't a colonizer. USA threw out the colonizers, built their country by resisting colonizers. They didn't have a problem with decolonization. UK and France certainly do, P5 members. They still have colonial assets today that they hold tight in their bosom. UK's largely rebuilt its Commonwealth. It is held since 2012 largely. And this sad, sad truth that everybody has to share is that all of what are indigenous, and again, we're not talking about Canada. Canada doesn't define anybody legally as indigenous. They call them savage Indian. They've legally defined them under the Indian Act 1876. Again, we can go on to Australia, Aborigine, we can go on to New Zealand and the folks there. And it starts with an S. I can't recall offhand. I'm still a little weak, but I'm getting stronger. The whole point here, folks, is this, that every other nation outside of those three crown colonial jewels tied hard and in large with UK, especially Canada, everybody else crafted a development phase of reconciliation. Not the truth and reconciliation here in Canada, a truth and reconciliation on the world stage. It was completed in 2022 in November. And this is what all of those first peoples all over the world came up with. If you want to have true reconciliation, one, the colonizer must apologize. Two, you must get reparations for all the wrongdoings, and including up to, absolutely at a bare minimum, If the colonizer has outstanding debts that the colonized are paying to the oppressor from oppression years, those debts should be waived off. The country exploited the people in slavery, in servitude, made a lot of money, can no longer military hold them. The UN changed in 1945 on its implementation. It changed the whole world into sovereign states. UK, France, Spain, all of these colonials should not have any more colonial holdings. They shouldn't have any outstanding debts with any colonial holdings they acquired through forced labor slavery of a people and genocide that you can't maintain anymore. It should be let go and nobody should pay you nothing. So these nations all agreed, but here's the problem. There's been no apologies. There's been no reparations. So you don't have reconciliation. Every nation outside of all the First Peoples of Canada is accepting that. So they're waving goodbye. They're saying, listen, you have a choice right now, you old dirty bastard, King Charles III. You can apologize to our country and our people. You can, as Belize says, forgive our debt outstanding to you through your colonial empire that you keep making us pay today and keeping us poor. You can forgive that, apologize, and we'll stay in your commonwealth, and maybe we will allow you to remain as a monarchy over us. Maybe we'll stay in the commonwealth. Well, they didn't want to do it. So Belize said, eat it. We're gone. You don't want to do reconciliation. We're gone. Now, Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada, Roseanne Archibald, National Chief, President of the Métis and President of the Inuit, all got together, went to London with Mary Simon at the helm, met with Charles III, and he gave no apology, and he gave no reparations. None, zilch, zip. And she says every one of the savage defined Indians must pledge your allegiance to that crown. The rest of the world says no. Only Mary Simon and all the Canadian Indigenous leaders from the Indian Act, tied to the Indian Act, the first-class Indians over all First Peoples, all of them, whether they're Treaty Indian, seated or unceded, Métis and Inuit, have all pledged their allegiance to Charles with, I repeat, zero reconciliation at hand. Now they're saying, swear your allegiance come Saturday. We all are to cement our wealth and our power over oppressed peoples defined as savages from the 1876 Indian Act, with zero apology, with zero promise of reparations, with zero restitution for any of the First Peoples. Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, and anybody else who wants to go through federal government will get all the federal land. All premiers and their cabinets will get all provincial lands to use as they see fit for the benefit of their interests. Roseanne Archibald, along with Mary Simon, the president of the Métis and the Inuit, are going to seek reparations from the subjects of Canada. That's right, not Charles in the UK, not the criminal politicians in the federal government, or any of the criminal premiers of the provinces and the lieutenant governors for all their crimes. They're not to see any money from any of these greasy politicians who committed genocide, real genocide. We can go through residential school genocide. We can go through removal of people's lands and rights and water, taking people, moving them all over. We can go through tuberculosis and see the complete genocide not found anywhere in the United States of America or the Russian Federation. We can go through all of that, and we can nail our government right to the wall. Clearly, prime ministers who are still alive today They're still alive today, wealthy as all kinds of wealth, rich as rich can be. Families will want not waste a lot for the rest of their lives for many, many generations to come. Well, the rest of us got to work and toil as subjects to pay all the reparations for all the First Peoples. Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada, says that's a great idea, as does Roseanne Archibald, as does the President of the Métis and the Inuit. They all met King Charles and said, yes, we would like to join you in the first class. We'll all get our tiny little crowns with our ringleader, Mary Simon, the head of state under Justin Trudeau, the white master that they all love. And they will help whip the slaves, because the slaves should pay. No other defined first person anywhere in the world is following this model, besides Australia and New Zealand, but nowhere else in the world of all these countries is anyone else following that model. Canada, as usual, the ringleader, the worst of the worst, today's South Africa as it was in 1993, before the UNSC had to come in and dismember it. And they did. They collected all the political parties, put them in isolation, and they voided the elections, voided the parties, voided the Constitution, hosted a referendum, and then they imposed a Constitution. Now, I don't think Canadians want that. We could wait for that. But the reality is we need to build this party, get it going together. We need to meet them at the election of 2025. There'll be a small one in 2024 for the 5 new EDAs that are coming. That'll be the preliminary to it. But folks, 2025, we have to run this platform. We have to show the world that we're not the most ignorant, silly, and simple society in the entire world, because there are third world countries clearly seeing this. Belize sees it. Jamaica sees it. If you didn't see the news, Richard Albert presents the medal that Queen Elizabeth, mother of all horrors, and I can say that clearly, and everybody, you just wait. She gives a medal to the Governor General of Jamaica, and it's the St. Michael, St. George saint presentation with the white angel stomping the black demon's neck, and it's exactly like George Floyd. St. George, George Floyd. She hands this to the Governor General like she didn't know any better. It was 1 month after George Floyd, which was in the news for about 3 months straight, every day, every waking hour. And Queen Elizabeth has this made and presented to the Governor General of Jamaica. You couldn't be that dumb. It was a slap your face, you're a no good nigger, and that's what she did. There's no other explanation. Nobody can justify it, which makes me wonder, did Mary Simon get the patron saint of colonialism, of the law of discovery, the lesser people saint? Did she get that? Xavier? Saint Xavier? Did she get that? Where savage people need to be genocided and murdered? And they got his little stone statue there? And the demon first peoples, savage peoples that need to be saved because the devil's in them? They're heretics. They got to be transformed into the light, or they're just devils? Did she give that to Mary Simon? Say, that's who your people are? We got to wonder, right? Because if that was the Governor General who shows that to everybody today, says, look, everybody, that this is what she gave me as Governor General of Jamaica, that stomped the neck of the savage nigger in Jamaica. Now, right? You got to be some kind of stupid idiot that Queen Elizabeth II would give that. So we have to wonder, What did she give Mary Simon as a token of what her job to do to her people is? I would think it's probably St. Xavier's medal for the civilizing missions. I bet you it is. And I bet you it's a little medal sitting around her neck, probably behind her blouse, that has the savage children red painted, no clothes, and getting stomped by angels, white superior angels. I bet you she got that. I bet you she did. If the Governor General of Jamaica got it, what did Mary Simon get? What did she get? Maybe Charles gave her one too. Kennedy can't trust anybody, and this is real, credible, verifiable. There's hardly any news about it in Canada, but you can find the pictures, and clearly it's an African with his neck twisted, pushed down on the metal, while the white angel's squishing his neck so he can't breathe. 1 month after the George Floyd. You don't think Elizabeth II was making a statement to that Governor General of Jamaica? And he said, I'll never wear this racist piece. And he published it. All Jamaicans know, but I bet you most Canadians never heard of it. The news on it was this big. You really got to dig deep. You got to leave Canada to get the news on it. And it's there. And it just amazes me. They're going to say, oh, that sweet little old lady didn't know any better. Come on, guys. She's the Queen of the UK and the whole Commonwealth. She knew exactly what she's doing. They are racist. They are the worst of the worst, privileged in society. They believe they're gods over all men and women. They believe that they gave the world a tremendous gift and that they're the greatest things since sliced bread, and you should eat their crap. That's what they think. Caste system, it's how they're raised. She was raised that way from childhood. They're all evil. It's all wrong. No religion in the world today should ever promote that. Nothing in any historical texts of any biblical texts support any of that. In fact, all of the Old Testament, which encompasses most of the population in the world of those who follow and practice religions, say that is a breach of God's law. Thou shalt not covet others or put others before me or worship others before me. But here we do it, and it's said, oh no, it's okay. It's okay because it's normal. It's not normal. It was created in the Middle Ages. It's a scam. It's propaganda. Here we are in Canada with Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada, all the First People leaders betraying all their people. And they want to whip the slaves. Yes, Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, don't worry. Keep going on. Beat your people. Make your people pay my people very little. Not a whole lot. Enough to keep us rich, but just our people a little bit. Not enough so that they can ever rise up. Keep them poor. Keep them trapped on the reserves without water, without proper shelter, without proper food, education, and health. Keep them down. Keep them always coming with their hands open to us. And Justin Trudeau nods, yep, and we'll beat the slaves. We'll make all the subjects in Canada work extremely hard with very little because we will not release any of the Crown lands to anybody. We'll keep it for ourselves and our friends to exploit as high as possible as they can. Real quick, I know it's not in the title of the video, but people that were saying that in Alberta, that Danielle Smith hasn't made a deal on her new platform with the NDP government in British Columbia. She most certainly did, folks. All of our natural gas is going to go to British Columbia, right through the wet sweating territory. Apparently, our oil couldn't go through there, but they're going to force the natural gas pipelines, where 6 LNG plants will be built in northern BC, right at the Kitimat area. 7 LNG plants and depots with super 1 million plus capacity tankers, and they'll be shipped all over the world. Alberta will average $3 a gigajoule, the lowest price of natural gas found on Earth, by an astronomical margin. If you think that Western Canadian Select, Alberta's crude oil, is the lowest in the world, well, it is. But if you think that that differential between us and Russia is extreme, wait till you see what it is for LNG. We're literally going to drain the Great Lake of Alberta's natural gas for the entire world at $3 an average gigajoule. BC will cash in on the other end at $34 a gigajoule. The Liberal Party of Canada, the NDP Party of Canada, and the Conservative Party of Canada. Who won't make any money? Albertans, because you always get the shaft. And you won't make any money, like you never do. Prices have to be exorbitantly high, and even then, it's not enough. You're not going to make anything off the $3. Do you know where Albertans are going to make the money? Because of the need from the world, and you're $3, and the drain, they're going to charge you domestically in the province of Alberta. UCP, NDP, Liberal Alberta Party are going to charge you massive for natural gas. You, the citizens, you, the 4.6 million Albertans today, you will pay the difference. You will pay. You'll pay. That's my video, folks. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Mary Simon, corrupt as hell. National Chief Roseanne Archibald, corrupt as hell. President of the Métis, President of the Inuit, corrupt as hell. They all went to London, already pledged their allegiance to Charles. They tell all the First Peoples, bend the knee, take your shit money every month. Don't worry with Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh. We're going to whip Canadians and they're going to pay you a couple coins extra a month so you can live in complete poverty. When really, folks, these people need to be brought to justice. Everywhere else in the world, they're telling the royal family, get fucked. Belize, get fucked. You will pay reparations. You will make an apology. What did King Charles say to Roseanne Archibald and Mary Simon? I won't apologize for nothing. They're just dirty, no good savages. And my subjects will pay because I'm a god over men. She said, yes, you are. And she took the knee. They all took the knee. Just as corrupt as Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Pierre Poilievre, who was the first to go, God save the king, as loud as he could on Twitter, the day the Queen died, and Charles goes, I'm the next king, and Pierre was the first to say, God save the king. These are narcissistic, nut job, lazy, no good, useless politicians who only exist to exploit you in full-fledged slavery. Slavery that hasn't been seen at that level and that normalcy since the War of Independence. Think about that. And Canadians say, oh no, it's okay. As long as I can get to my level of class, it's okay. It's okay. What about your kids? What about your grandkids? I promise you they're all likely majority going to be in third class, way, way more impoverished than you ever were. And your parents and your grandparents before that. I know, our whole family, we got all of our tears. Besides that first initial, everybody goes down, not for working any harder or any less harder than anybody else, but generally, if you're not in the first class and you didn't swear your allegiance, you're going to stick around working for a living, being an honest folk, or starting a business and doing your thing, you're never going to succeed anything. They change the rules, they change the goalposts, they put you down. Because they're the first class, you're the second, and worse, you're the third if you don't follow suit. That's my video. Share, 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 get it out there. They're all doing it. Everybody's saying no. But not Canada, not Canada's first people. Corrupt, 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 corrupt beyond all measure. Bye now.